Hello and Happy New Year, everyone. It is great to be back. We've been back in the office for a couple days now, and it's already been a pretty busy week. So as we're speaking, as I'm recording this right now, we should be patching the game already. And in addition to the usual patch notes, I wanted to record a video this time around where I sort of talk through the why behind some of our changes rather than just the what. So hopefully this is interesting for some of you. We'll see how it goes. Maybe we'll do more of these in the future, but it's a big patch, so I'm going to jump into it, and hopefully it doesn't take too long. So without further ado, let's just kind of jump into it. I don't know if I'll describe every change, but I do kind of want to explain as many as I can. So right off the top, level up structure is revamped to consist largely of fixed options. So the level up structure had some issues in the last patch. We tried going heavier on level up loot. The level up system has had a lot of twists and turns over the last half a year of development. We want the options to feel good, but we also want to avoid a bunch of hidden rules that are easy to manipulate. So when we first launched closed beta, the level up system had some issues where it was doing conditional spawning, like it was rolling items conditionally based on what you already had. And so you wouldn't see duds that way, but players were discouraged to keep items that didn't already fit into their build because you didn't want to roll like bad options by having items that you don't want to use in your stash. And this created a pretty bad play pattern. So, we reworked level up rewards so that there were more options, and, we tried a paradigm where more of them were duds, but because you had more options and because, loot was powerful and readily available and fit in different builds, you'd always have something that was like reasonably good for you in that world. That's had some benefits. We want to move to a level up system that's more fixed in structure rather than a bunch of random rolls every time. Like you guys might have noticed, like certain levels you get an enchantment or a guaranteed upgrade. And instead of that just being at some levels now, most, if not all levels are fixed. The options there are fixed. So you'll be seeing the same options between levels pretty often. And one of the biggest changes to not just level up system, but to the skill system is that the trainers are mostly showing up inside the level up now. And I think it's going to do a lot of good things for the game. We as a studio think it'll do a lot of good things for the game. It'll reduce the variance of how many skills people see. Like right now, the truth is a lot of the skill vendors late game are kind of auto pick, and this will create just less variance. You won't have like some builds with 0 skills and some builds with 20. It should be more even this way. So even though most trainers are going to be showing up inside of level up rewards now, it's not all of them. Like some of them, like Grandmaster, Nufu, Zerf, and Safari, those are still going to be showing up next to other encounters during the run. But for the most part, your skill vendors are going to be inside of the level up rewards now, and their skills will be free. If you find the merchant outside of your level up reward, then you have to pay for the skill, and you'll have to be paying more now. It used to be 3, 6, 12, 24. We bumped it up to 5, 10, 20, 40. In general, there's players are earning like at least slightly too much gold right now, and this is one of the things that might address that to some degree. It's also removing a gold sink at the same time, but we're just trying to do what we can. There's always this tension, like we want to make these rewards more exciting. We want to inject value in a way that feels good everywhere. But if you do it too much, then players have too much gold and they start being more picky with the things they fish for. And so actually, like the richer they are, the less they're forced to play with unusual items. And so the economy's not too far off from, it plays relatively well right now, but I wouldn't be surprised to see more changes where we try to rein in the economy moving forward. So merchants and trainers. So when we first launched closed beta, they all could reroll, every merchant and trainer. We like that consistency. We want to bring that back. The truth is rerolling is just a lot more valuable on certain merchants though. So having that 3 gold cost on rerolls being universal is something we're moving away from. So we're going to have the cost of the reroll scale based on the tier of the merchant. So if it's like a diamond tier merchant, you're going to have an 8 cost reroll there, and this will just make it consistent again, where every merchant can reroll. Every merchant is consistent in their pricing for that reroll. In that, if it's a bronze merchant, the reroll is always going to cost 2. This might have some issues. We'll see how it plays with like Serafina and some of the stronger merchants. But overall, it's been feeling better than what we had. So we're going to try this direction and see how it goes. So we reduced the number of skills on skill trainers. The skills are free. We've started a skills pass. There's been a lot of skill cleanup. I don't know how much of it made it into this patch relative to the next one, but we have removed some of the skills that were, just designs we weren't as much of a fan of, and so the pool should feel like it has more good options. We've tried to bump the strength of the bronze skills more. I mean, especially like weapon skills. We've done a decent amount of rebalancing and pruning of the skill pool, and this change will complement that. Now that the skills should be stronger at lower tiers, that's going to be more appropriate. See, Aerodrome no longer spawns the removed trainers. All right, a bit of a bug fix there. Pearl's dig site's an encounter. Oh yeah, Pearl's dig site works differently from a merchant, even though they're very similar, because you can only buy one item there, and that rule difference alone, arguably puts it in a different category. This way, all the merchants will work the same. So on that topic of merchants working the same, Serafina is going to allow multiple purchases now. She used to be single buy, which it was a balanced solution. It played fine, honestly, but this will be more consistent of a rule. So that's a direction we want to go. Start of run item pool no longer contains large items. A lot of these were just auto pick. They're just worth more gold. A lot of them are just super strong carry items. It's like you're getting 3 slots of silver stuff early. So it is quite strong. So I think that change has played well. Monster Ranch we've reworked. It was just kind of an auto pick, and the gold option's too good. So now we're going to show you a bunch of loot, and then you get to pick one for free instead of paying a bunch of gold up front and getting 2 of them. Let's see, Sterling's been renamed to Sylvia. I got really anchored to Sterling, but Sylvia is more gender appropriate for Sterling, and I'm gonna leave that to the world building team to focus on. Sylvia, speaking of which, will not spawn on day 1 anymore. I got some renames, snack time, slight nerf. This option is, I think, or was too good, certainly, and underpicked, honestly. Restorative and shielded on many items has been updated to better map to the item's base effects. Yeah, so this is kind of an ongoing initiative with enchantments. Enchantments are just a ton of data, right? Like we spent, 6 years making a game, and that game on closed beta launch had like 400 cards, but then the enchantment system just came in a couple weeks before then, and it's like it's like having to make 10 times that amount of cards. It's like you go from making 400 cards to making 4,000, or however many live enchantments there are on average, and it's just such a crazy volume of work that the enchantment design is something that you're going to see slowly get combed out over time, patch to patch. So there were a bunch of enchantments where they were serviceable, but the design wasn't quite like exactly what we wanted it to be. Like restorative was a bit of a clunky one. Any of these effects that just tacked on some arbitrary flat number didn't really take on the identity of the item that's being enchanted at all. It was just sort of slapping an effect onto a card, and so that doesn't feel as good. And so we've redesigned some of these enchantments. It's like restorative and shielded, for example. it'll heal equal to the shield, or it'll restorative. It works a lot like lifesteal now, in that it'll heal equal to the damage on a lot of weapons, and that's just going to play a lot better because buffing the weapon's damage is a pretty common thing that you're doing, and so the restorative effect on that will benefit from it now. It's not just going to be like this tacked on flat output. So I think the enchantments will keep improving and feeling better over time, and that's also an area that may be prone to bugs and tag issues. So don't hesitate to call those out if you guys catch anything out of place. Grandmaster B1, B2 will no longer offer options that aren't upgrades. This was always the intent. We just didn't have the tech for it earlier, so it's kind of like a unique thing. So now they can do that, which is awesome. You won't whiff on those merchants anymore. The Grand Society and Master Merchants, Barcoon, Midsworth, and Quixel. This was always the design on these guys. I mean, we had this in prototypes years and years and years ago. You guys probably noticed from the voice lines, they prefer certain sizes of items. We were just waiting on the tech to give merchants skills like this. Now we can. We're starting with these three. We'll see how much we lean into that. There's other ways of doing sell bonuses as a bigger system, which we might explore in the future. But yeah, there's not going to be a ton of these out of the gate, but I do think they play well, and it meaningfully changes the way you play your run. Like you want to kind of sell your junk as late as possible, just because you might run into one of these. So, but yeah, overall, just a good flavor fit. Barcoon, I think, is going to make an economy impact. That's pretty big. So we'll see how that plays out. But yeah, overall, feeling good about those changes. Let's see. Add it to your bushel. Now upgrades the player's bushel. Okay. Good stuff. Hattie has arrived. Wait, we got Hattie in this patch. Really? Huh. I didn't know that was ready. I mean, I've seen it. I didn't know that was like actual. Okay. Well, we'll see. I haven't run into that on staging. Replays and recaps enabled. It's a highly requested feature. Of course, as always, we did not make it because it was requested. We made it because it's been in development for months and months and months, and it's finally been ready. Or it finally is ready, this patch, and so we got it in. But yeah, it's feeling and looking really good, so let us know what you guys think about that system. Monster changes. Monster HP has been reduced on a number of monsters. One thing with some of the monsters to watch out for that we're going to be keeping an eye on is like, because we buffed some of the early skills, it might have made some of the early monsters a little too strong. But we'll see. We'll see on if that ends up being an issue. Veteran Octopus, long overdue change to a more appropriate amount of HP for a whole bunch of reasons. Let's see. Some retiree changes. A sparring partner, the gist of that encounter is how it'll work most likely in the long run, but there's some optimization issues with it. We sort of hacked it in, and it'll run smoother when we bring him back, possibly with some rules changes on how he works. Let's see. Frost Street Champion, Wandering Shoal re-enabled. Awesome. Robo Bouncers renamed to Bouncertron. Better name. Warrior has become mortal. What a tragedy. That's all right. We'll see if people pick him now. 10 City Mayor is now named Trash Town Mayor, is now Day 5 monster up from Day 2. Cool. Yeah, augmented weaponry is pretty strong. But I like the design of it overall. I think that monster just came in a little early. All right. Let's jump into general item changes. Heavy Enchantment no longer increases the number of items that are slowed. Those items are now, this has double slow duration. Yeah, so that's going to work more in line with restorative and shielded. Let's see. This is what we talked about earlier. The restorative and shielded values will map to the base output of the item most of the time. A lot of enchantment updates, a lot of VFX updates in this patch. You guys will see kind of improvements across the board. It's not just design stuff that's going in. We make an effort to keep every department productive, and everyone's really putting their best behind this project at the studio. So you'll see VFX changes, design changes, new features, some optimization stuff. And yeah, hopefully it's all moving the game in the right direction. Let us know how you feel about it. Let's see, reverted snowflake, weather machine. I mean, these are individual item changes. I don't think I need to dig into too many of these. Thurible, Venomancer, Sharpening Stone. Yeah, so some loot changes. You're not going to be getting as much of these anymore, and so them being yeah, so we've up-tiered some of these. We're not starting at bronze. It's a slight balance shift. We'll see how it plays. Loot is a interesting subject. You just get it from a lot of places, and there's a lot of good to how it plays, but there's some bad as well, because it sort of discourages you from pivoting once you've committed too much loot. So it's like, it's nice to have a sprinkle of it, but we got to be careful not to overdo it, like with a lot of things in the game. Mortal Coil. Okay, Lifesteal Weapon, not bad. Sunlight Spear. Buffed Satchel. Okay, so a bunch of neutral items and items from other heroes getting changed. None of this is yeah, none of this is stuff I need to philosophically dive into. We'll let streamers get into the balance stuff. Let's see. All right, skill changes. Sorry, this is what I was talking about earlier. So yeah, a bunch of the size restriction basic skills we got rid of. Those didn't feel great. And yeah, overall the skills should just feel more relevant to your build. There should be like less duds. They should feel stronger at lower tiers. And yeah, let us know how it plays, because that's one of the bigger changes, is just where skills are coming from, how they're structured. You know, for the most part, you'll see familiar skills with familiar effects, but a lot of changes going down with skills this patch, so it'll be good to get a feel for that. And see, Desperate Freeze. That makes sense. Whoops. Fiery Rebirth, nerfed this one a bit. Some of these legendary skills and items we do want to be crazy powerful. It's just right now it's too easy to just find the legendary monster. Like you just run into it on hour 3, right? And you're there. And you know, in the future when we can bury those legendary bosses more at like the end of a dungeon or something, or like if some amount of steps that you had to go through before you even encountered that monster, you know, then we can get away with some stronger legendaries on those. But for the monsters that you're going to be seeing relatively often, you know, we just want to make sure the skills don't just break the game if you're getting them that often. So, Fiery Rebirth, Hypnotic Drain, just some fixes to skills and items. Not a lot to dive into here, to be honest. Yeah, we'll leave this for the streamers to dig into, but just balance changes for individual things. We got item changes. All right, maybe I'll dive into some of these. Port drops items equal to tier. Yeah, the port change is interesting. Yeah, people will see a monitor lizard like 1 in 3 games and just lose it. But on the patch before this one, like I watched like 40 games, and like, yeah, I'd watch like 40 Vanessa runs, and people would force Crow's Nest in like 20 of them, and they would force Port in the other 20. But they would never call that forcing. They were creatively building a mech build in their eyes. And so this is Port's an interesting one. It plays really well, even though it was too strong in the last patch. Pole was responsible for that, Paul, to a large degree. But yeah, I think we overdid the nerfs on this. I think it's nice to have the rule be consistent that item spawners spawn items of the same tier, which Port started to violate that once we nerfed it on this recent patch. So I think reverting some of these changes will be good. It's still slightly nerfed. We're going to get rid of this plus max ammo buff. It is a very strong item, but it's still a very fun build around. Plays different every game. There's a lot to like about Port. We don't want to over nerf it like last patch. So I think this is closer to where it was at. And yeah, let us know what you guys think. We'll see how it plays. Life Preserver re-enabled. We fixed a bug that stopped health bars from going negative, and I think it basically bugged out Life Preserver. But this one's working again, which is awesome. Very core Vanessa item, especially for early game and a lot of builds as it is. So it'll be good to have that back. Honestly, there's just been a lot of very relevant items. Well, not a lot. There's been a couple relevant items disabled every patch, and it's sort of a different couple items every patch. But as we comb out the bugs, it should be fewer and fewer of these over time. Pufferfish is re-enabled, a little bit longer of a cooldown, and yeah. So we want the upgrades to feel good on items. This is one of the bigger initiatives over the last 2 patches that we've done, is basically, like I talked about in the Q&A, it's removing the item effects that just like trigger on a passive and changing them into items that self-charge. Like Vineyard and Landscraper were examples of this. Or Pufferfish originally did not have a cooldown, right? It just passively poisoned. And effects like this are pretty dangerous because you can't really interact with them. They don't interact with, slow or charge or freeze, or they can't crit. So there's a lot of awkwardness with passive-only outputs. And so we've restructured a lot of those cards into being active items instead that charge themselves when stuff happens. And we think that'll play a lot better. In order to make the upgrades feel good on those items, we scale the charge amount. So we're keeping an eye on this. We'll see how this feels. But it should make the upgrades feel good every time, as well as keeping the poison flat. We'll make it more clear how much you've buffed it with loot and other things if you have, instead of this number jumping around. But it's also going to keep the balance more in line now that the charge numbers are higher. So yeah, we'll see how this plays. I'm optimistic. Pufferfish is quite strong, just because of the nature of Vanessa's early item pool having so many aquatics and like enablers for this. The boulder. We're gonna buff this item until it's meta defining, because we spent 3/4 of the studio budget on the animation for it. Some would say it's irresponsible. I just say Boulder's cooldown is too high. We might have overbuffed it here, but I embrace the Boulder meta. And, worst case scenario, people will have to pick up shields here and there. I don't think it's too bad. We'll see. We'll see about this one. This is really pushing it, but I'm optimistic that it'll play well. So we'll see. Let's see. Barrel now starts at silver. I think this is double barrel. Shield. No. This is literally Vanessa's barrel. I'm sorry. Shield self buff. 20. All right. So yeah, more balance changes. Relatively minor stuff. Cannonade is in this category of items that was passive only, and now it has a cooldown. Now when you use a weapon, it charges itself. And now this lets it crit. It lets it get hasted, slowed, frozen. It's just a lot more interactive with other effects. It removes the confusion in the game on, like, did I use an item, right? Like with Hality, that confusion comes up a lot, and effects like that. So overall, this is a change that, we got through some of it on the last patch. Like we hit a lot of the most impactful items, but then some of the items we just didn't finish getting to yet, like Monitor Lizard or Cool LEDs or 50 other items that you guys should see changes with this patch. So a lot of them were these passive only effects that now have a cooldown or have been reworked in other ways. So hopefully those play well. Let us know what you guys think. Trebuchet was a pretty big role player in the meta. It was a little overtuned. The support cards might be a little too strong in some cases. Haste is interesting. It kind of, once you're generating haste triggers, it helps you generate more of those triggers, and yeah, it's easier to overdo it with haste than it is with slow, for example. And we'll see. I think this trebuchet balance is more in line. It still plays really well as an item. Like the use a weapon or haste condition is really flexible, fits into a lot of builds. So we'll see how that runs. I think it's a good change. Let's see some more balance changes across the board here. Nothing really worth digging into too much. Mostly the items being listed here are, you know, these passive reworks or balance changes. Let's see, ballista, crease, yep. Okay, damn rework. Yeah, this is a little sad this one wasn't seeing play either. Again, the animation. We want to try reworking it. It's going to start at gold tier now, so it should be showing up a lot more. We made it a little slower at that tier. We made the effect more powerful, I think. It destroys this and all smaller items for both players. So instead of just destroying their smalls, I think this should be more applicable. There's more ways to like get around this drawback of blowing up your own items. But yeah, overall, just a lot stronger than it used to be last patch, but we'll see if it's strong enough. It would be tragic for such a cool effect to not see any play, so we'll dial that one in over the next couple of patches here, I'm sure. Shark Ray starting in silver tier is a big deal. Pufferfish was kind of one of the only aquatic payoffs early, and the fact that Shark Ray can go to silver now gives Vanessa another one. So I think her aquatic synergy is going to be a lot better this patch. I mean, obviously because Pufferfish is not disabled anymore, but Shark Ray will also help that out quite a bit. Crow's Nest, just going to keep nerfing it until Northern Lion can draft something different. Grappling Hook's cooldown is now 6 seconds, down from 7. All right. I'm excited for that change. That item's not been seeing a lot of play, so I think that's more appropriate. Cool. On to Pygmalion. It re-enabled some items that were bugged, which is awesome. Luxury Tents had the Life Preserver problem, I want to say. Beehive had a different one, but yeah, those got fixed now, which is great. Booby Trap, again, was in that category of items that was passive-only outputs. So now that it charges, it's more interactable, which is good. Shipment, again, had that issue with port where it was dropping items of a different tier than itself. I was personally worried about the balance on this card. So yeah, it'll do the old thing. Might be too good, but we'll see how it goes. I think it'll feel pretty good to buy sell. Let's see, Atlas Stone. This is one item that was not seeing nearly enough play. One thing that we have sort of shifted philosophy-wise on is cooldowns changing on items as you upgrade them. It's something we were pretty strictly avoiding before because the cooldown of the item is sort of tied into its identity, and you don't want the identity to change tier to tier. It's why we don't like add effects to items as they upgrade. That only happens when they get enchanted. And so shoot, I lost my train of thought, sorry. Anyway, Atlas Stone should be stronger now in the cooldowns. In the future, the cooldown of Atlas Stone could theoretically like start at 7 gold tier and then go up to 6 or go down to 6 at diamond. That would let Atlas Stone be available at gold. It would show up way more during runs. So that's something we're keeping an eye on too. There's always this tension where you want to sort of downshift the rarity of items as much as you can because it creates the broadest pool from which players are drafting. But if you downshift them too far, like not all the effects scale right. Like you could end up with like bronze items that just feel unplayable, for example. Like we downshifted some items too much on this last patch, I think. So yeah, we'll see if diamond only is the right place for this. But I'm confident that, you know, for most items we're still not changing the cooldown between upgrades, but for a few of them where it's like the best reasonable way to scale it, like with Atlas Stone, I think that'll be a good change. So again, this one though is diamond only right now, so We'll see if 6 seconds is enough for it to get there. Atlas Stone is actually pretty broken during a lot of like prototyping and a lot of the early years of the game. It was actually a pretty iconic item, like one of the OG items that was meta defining in very early prototypes pretty often. And now it's unplayable, which is tragic. So we'll get that one more in line. Some tag changes, the charge change for model ship. The charge visual effect, by the way, is placeholder and messy in the patch that you guys have been playing. We have a new one. It might be coming in this patch. If not this patch, it's next patch. So I really hope charge made it into this patch, because that visual effect is so busy until we have the new one in. But yeah. Let's see, start silver tier. Yeah, this item's going to get reworked too. There's a bunch of items in the game. Either they're waiting on tech or just iteration or whatever it is. Like, there's a bunch of items where we have like an intended effect for them that we're not quite ready to implement yet. And so, you will still see item effects changing for some time as new technology comes in for us and we're able to actually implement these effects that we want to do. It's basically like the more generalized the effect, the higher prioritized it's going to be for engineering. And so all the niche, cool, bespoke effects for items that are like only used a couple times that feel really special, they're also like the hardest ones to justify engineering time for a lot of times. So what I'm excited for over time on this game is you should be seeing more and more of those bespoke, unique, like one-off effects come in over time, and that'll be fun. It'll just increase the diversity in item outputs. See, Giant Ice Club, Snow Globe. Yeah, a lot of just passive changes, balance changes. Nothing too crazy different from what you guys have seen before. Yep, all of this seems pretty in line. Not much to dig into there. Let's jump into Dooley. Let's see what Dooley needs. So, coolant now freezes small items only. This is one of our preferred fixes to some of the OP freeze items. It's more OP freeze enchantments and things like that, but it should be a lot harder to freeze a large item than a small item. A fast small item should not be freezing large items easily. And so I think size restricting freeze is going to be a good direction for a lot of these effects. And that way it doesn't complicate the mechanic at all. And we'll see how that does. Let's see, Omega Ray and Gamma Ray now only buff adjacent burn and poison items respectively. Yeah, we up-tiered the tiers on the rays quite a bit, and the adjacency is a slight nerf to them, but they should still be quite strong. Hopefully not too strong. We'll see where they're at. The patch before this one, like, people weren't playing rays really, and so I'm glad that they're seeing some play, but yeah, definitely overtuned in the current patch. So we'll see if these changes get it to the spot it should be at. Forklift, spelling change, highly important. Some enchantment fixes. This item needs a full rework anyway. It's quite bad. Let's see, Arc Blaster. Yeah, we caught this one. This one has not been in the game, even though it should have been. It was disabled because of an old bug. But now it's back in. It's the one use a core damage one. See some Isochoric Freezer buffs. Fuel Rod, Rocket Launcher. Dooley's Scarf has received an updated design. All right. Let's see, Railgun, Blast Doors. None of the individual item stuff seems super fruitful for me to dig into philosophy-wise. I've sort of explained why these changes are happening. But it's a mix of balanced stuff and reworking those passive effects to being self-charged mostly. Tesla Coil is another one of those. Ballista, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see how this one plays. Ballista's quite strong. All right, duct tape, armadillo, Hamlet, solar farm. Feeling good about it. All right, bug fixes. We ran some scripts, caught a bunch of mismatched tags. Thank you for everyone that's been helping identify a lot of these bugs. It's this game just has so much stuff in it, and it really is built like piece by piece. It's just a giant pile of data, and so there's always going to be like outliers, things we miss. There's just too much content to manually test all of it. So just having you guys consistently report and share those surprising things that feel bad or are working in a bugged way, or just it felt confusing. Just keep raising it. It really helps us find and address these things very quickly. So, okay, fixed an issue or hour forward deal in the incorrect set of options. Fixed a bug or item. Yep, we're trying to see. Most of these are benign issues specific to one item at a time. I'm happy to see a bunch of these getting fixed up. Yeah, virus was like starting at 12, upgrading to 5, which is that was just a bug. Let's see, Regal Blade, Scrap Metal. Critical Captain would not give crit chance to all items. Okay. Yeah, just individual fixes for items and skills. Doesn't seem like anything worth philosophically digging into there. Non-gameplay fixes. We made some progress on the memory leak stuff. The performance of the games felt a lot better this patch. So, I don't know exactly how much better. We'll hear that from you guys on a bunch of different devices and everything. But you shouldn't have to restart the game as often, at least. Hopefully not at all. But I don't want to promise that until. Like optimization, there's no like finish line. It's basically this indefinite rabbit hole. We're going to keep working on it, and there's a lot of optimization work that's going to get done between now and the launch of mobile. And so a lot of what needs to happen to get this game onto phones is that optimization stuff, and that's going to help every platform with all the performance stuff. So fixed an issue or tabbing out while in payment process. Zola's not going to be in there much longer. Updates to the game sound, music, and voiceover mix. Audio team doing great work as always. Hero characters no longer say their victory or defeat lines if in combat with a non-speaking monster. More audio polish. Player skins face each other. Loadouts show the rarity of premium collectibles. Boards now open when opening from chests. Boards now open. Fixed a bug where no sound plays when hovering items over the stash chest. I'll issue some of the sounds. A laser projectile shoots the middle of the board. Cool. Yeah. Nothing. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that went into this patch that isn't listed here. I hope that you guys like the changes. Let us know. Again, we've made so many changes in this patch, and it's been a couple work weeks since a few work weeks since the last one. We can make this patch a little bigger because we had a little more time for this one. But yeah, moving forward as far as patch cadence, the intent is to be patching every other week. Not every patch is going to be this big. You guys should absolutely not expect this many changes every 2 weeks or anything like that. Once a month, maybe we'll have a bigger patch where more content gets changed, but the in-between patches will have smaller targeted balance changes and more longer-term feature stuff that we're focusing on. So overall, the game meta shouldn't sit for like a month again, but we'll see if this cadence lines up with just everything that has to happen in production and with the speed that we can update, the speed that you guys consume content. We think that that'll be a good fit. The game, when it's fully launched, will be in a monthly seasonal cadence, so it'll be like 1 month, 1 season. and this patch cadence should line up pretty well with that. But we'll feel it out. We're open to changing that if it's not happening often enough, or if we're patching too often. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, thank you guys for coming to my TED Talk. I hope this is sort of helpful. I don't know, I just decided to sort of ramble through patch notes, and I didn't really get into a lot of the individual item stuff. I'll leave that to other content creators. But yeah, I hope this brings the game closer to where we want it to be. You know, every time we do one of these passes, I do feel like the game gets meaningfully better. You know, I think people are, well, I think some people are annoyed by the current patch for some good reasons. And yeah, in the long run, you know, I do think the current patch is a lot better than the last patch, which was a lot better than the last patch. I think the severity of the problems goes down quite a bit every time. So I'm really happy with the progress we're making as a studio. I'm overjoyed with how many of you guys are having fun with the game and sharing it with your friends and streaming it and just posting builds, talking about it. It really is just awesome to see so many of you take to it. Thank you for your support. Thank you for playing. Thank you for continuing to follow the project. So I hope you guys enjoy where the game is at. Oh, one last thing, and this does come to mind. One thing that's not called out here on these patch notes, we did a sequence framework update. So basically the nature of how the game moves forward hour to hour is a little different now. It's going to be way more stable, and it tees us up for doing things in the future that we want to do with injected encounters like Thieves Guild or Genie. And the drawback potentially of that is it might feel a bit slower. I mean, it is slower, like between hours, because the animations don't overlap each other as much anymore. They're sort of, one's finishing before the next one is starting more and more. And so this has a lot of benefits for stability and other reasons, upcoming features, but the game might feel slower hour to hour. So that's one thing just to mention. We'll see. We'll see how that feels. We definitely don't want the player waiting too long, but just wanted to call it out. It was one of the unlisted changes, but yeah, big patch. Let us know what you think. There's a lot to take in. And yeah, if we mess something up, we'll fix it in a couple weeks. Until then, see you guys next time.